So it's a Tuesday night, middle of the semester, so many other things that we know that you could be doing, and we're very happy that you decided to come spend part of your evening with us. You are, if you didn't know, in the LabCorp Leadership in Technology Speaker Series. Okay, this is the second of 3 talks this semester. This speaker series is actually 16 years old. We're up around 100 speakers now. It was designed to give primarily computer science students this view into this fabulous world of technology leadership, but I understand that we also have individuals from other disciplines here through the honors program and through engineering. We're very glad to have you, and hopefully this will not be your last time joining us. Couple of announcements. We are videotaping this, as you can see. If you happen to need to go back and reference anything, these folks are really quick, and we'll have it up online probably within the next week for sure. If you know of someone who would like to see it, we're also streaming live right now, so you can send them a little text and let them know that it is live. We have individuals coming in the back of the room. If you are a grad student with computer science and you're going to need to have a gentleman swipe, we're going to ask you to just go ahead and have a seat now, and he'll swipe you at the end of the session. Okay, and if you need to have something signed saying you were here, I'll be down here at the end of the session for that. Okay, over the 16 plus years, we have touched on about every technology topic that you could imagine. And I love it when we have these that really dig into the application. Tonight, we're going to be talking about how technology is transforming the healthcare industry. We are very pleased to have with us tonight Bola Oyegunwa. And Bola, I've seen his charts. They're fantastic. He spends a little bit of time going over his bio and his background, so I'm not going to pretend to cover all that. But let me just say, he's a technology leader. He's got deep expertise in digital transformation and core technology functions, especially as it relates to the healthcare industry. Bola is currently the Senior Vice President of Enterprise Systems at LabCorp. And LabCorp is our named sponsor, and we appreciate that. And prior to this, he was Chief Information Officer for LabCorp's drug development business. He's got a PhD in microbiology, a master's in microbial biotechnology, and an MBA, all 3 from here at NC State. So we're welcoming you back. Ladies and gentlemen, would you join me in welcoming Bola to the stage? Bola, all yours.
Thank you.
All yours.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. How's my volume? Can you guys hear me in the back? Great. So I'm a pacer, so I'm going to be pacing around. I am delighted to be here and to give a talk on using innovation and technology to transform healthcare delivery. Ken, thanks for the invitation. And Ken already shared my background with you. I am a Wolfpack through and through. Okay, I was on campus for many years, and it was interesting because the professors that were here, because they saw me on campus for so long, thought I was also a professor. Yeah. So, anyways, I have 3 degrees from NC State. I have a master's in microbial biotechnology, which really was focused on manipulating genes, gene reconstitution, recombination, for biotechnology purposes, okay? I have a PhD in microbiology and immunology, and I have an MBA with a concentration in strategy and finance. So it's great to be on campus. When I was here, I spent most of my time at Carmichael Gym. You guys know Carmichael Gym? Check this out. I was 270 pounds with 5% body fat when I was a student here. I went to the gym all the time. So I have very fond memories of being a student. Enjoy it. These are the best times of your life, trust me. So I'm going to go cover my background a little bit. Then we're going to dive right into our discussion for tonight, which is innovation and technology to transform delivery of healthcare. And a lot of things that I'm going to be discussing with you today exist at some level. They're being scaled within organizations, but they are real life practical applications that are being used and are going to transform healthcare or are already transforming healthcare in the present. I love this quote that said, "The future has already been invented. It's just not evenly distributed yet." So in a way, you're looking at the future of healthcare, the future of technology, the future of innovation before it is scaled more broadly to start disrupting healthcare. And not only healthcare, I don't think it's going to be limited to healthcare. It's certainly going to disrupt a lot of organizations and a lot of functions within our country. So going back to my background, when I left and I finished with my PhD and MBA, I went into management consulting. And I was consulting with pharmaceutical companies to help them define what is called the TPP, the target product profile. Understanding the market, understanding the needs of patients, and helping them define the investment that they need to make in developing drugs for new therapy areas or to develop drugs for existing diseases, depending on the existing drugs within that market. After that, I transitioned to corporate strategy at a company called IQVIA, a contract research organization. And my focus within IQVIA was really partnering with the senior executives, with the CEO, to define the corporate strategy of the organization. Where are we going to invest? Which companies are we going to acquire? What are the new offerings that we're going to develop and introduce to the market? And also, what is our technology strategy going to be? How do we disrupt our competitors? How do we accelerate growth in the marketplace? After that, I transitioned, actually during my stay at IQVIA, I transitioned over to supporting a new function, which was emerging technologies. Clinical technologies that we were developing, that were investigator-facing, that were patient-facing, and had a privilege of developing some really innovative software that were highly impactful in clinical trials. Transitioned over to LabCorp and continued on my journey of building clinical trial products to decentralize clinical trials. So if you guys know anything about clinical trials, the patient actually has to go in to the investigator office, to the clinic, to participate in clinical trials, to do their procedures, to get their labs run, and I had the opportunity to build software that enabled patients to participate remotely in clinical trials without having to go to the investigator site for some clinical procedures. Transitioned over to be the CIO of LabCorp's drug development function, which was a $6 billion business that LabCorp acquired, and was in that role for a few years, and now I am the Senior Vice President of Enterprise Systems at LabCorp. And I have to tell you, I have the coolest job in the world. And I'll tell you why. Because I get to support all of the lab systems that we use at LabCorp. And that lab system gets to impact 150 million patients a year. 500,000 specimens that we're processing in our labs every night. Huge impact. So in terms of actually having a significant impact on patient lives and getting them the answers they need so physicians can guide the care and make the appropriate diagnosis, it's a lot of impact. All of the corporate systems, the billing systems that we use at LabCorp, I get to support and lead those. And my favorite, robotics. We have robots that we use in the lab that are doing the aliquoting, robots that are actually preparing the specimen pre-analytical, so they can go to the analyzers where we actually run the test. And my team gets to build those, and this is a massive robots. Ken, you've seen the video of those robots, right? Massive, massive robots. It's a lot of fun to actually streamline efficiencies and use these robots to be able to actually maximize the impact. As I said, we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have these robots in our labs that are actually helping us with sample management. Business relationship management, essentially what that means is you have a business, technology needs to understand the capabilities that are needed. So the technologist, the technology organization as a bridge, which is a business relationship manager that interfaces with the business to say, what new capabilities do you need? How can we accelerate growth? How can we increase profitability? So I lead that function as well for the organization, and then M&A and the division or IT organizations that we have, and I have a software delivery team as well for product engineering. So before we get into the talk, LabCorp, our mission is to improve health and improve lives, and I already shared with you the impacts that we have on patient lives globally, not only from a diagnostics perspective, but when it comes to development of new therapies as well for clinical trials. If you go back, the top 50 drugs over the past decade, LabCorp has supported development of those therapies, either by doing the clinical trials or being the central labs for those medicine. I'm also very proud to work for LabCorp. One of our strategic areas of focus is cell and gene therapy. And I'm going to be speaking about cell and gene therapy later on during my talk. I have a brother that has severe sickle cell anemia, and it could be a very, very severe disease. Feel free to look it up. And about 2 to 3 months ago, the FDA approved the first therapy, cell and gene therapy for sickle cell anemia. And I'm just so proud to work for a company that focuses on improving lives and improving health. Okay. So I'm saying this, we do have internship opportunities. If you would like to have an impact on patients, transform healthcare, please participate in our internship program. Okay, so strategic pillars for LabCorp. Oncology is an important area for our organization. If you look at the second box, differentiation through digital and data, that's where I fall within the organization, which is to make sure that we're developing digital capabilities, we're developing the technology and innovative capabilities that is going to continue to have the impact on patient lives. So before we start talking about how innovation and technology can be used to transform healthcare delivery, I would like to start with actually understanding the trends in healthcare. What are the challenges? And then how can technology begin to address those challenges? So we're going to start with what are the trends? And the first trend that I would like to go over with you is this evolution of reimbursement models. So historically, there's a fee-for-service model. That means you go into the hospital and the physician or the clinician conducts a test and you pay for that test. Well, there's an evolution now towards value-based care, which is making sure that the care quality is actually sufficient to prevent readmission rates, making sure that patient experience is being prioritized as well. And physician performance is also being prioritized. So a shift away from paying for services to making sure that the services that are being provided are actually improving overall health of the population and reducing the cost of healthcare. And 80% of reimbursement over the next decade would actually be through value-based care. The second trend is proliferation of data that is required to actually diagnose a patient. If you think about the medical records, if you think about data that's being captured from sensors and devices, if you think about data that's being captured from their lab reports, right? Just a massive, massive proliferation of data that's being used for diagnosis. And that's just on the diagnostic side. On the clinical trial side, it's the same trend. I had a customer that I was speaking to a year ago and said to me, in one clinical trial that they did, they collected more data in one study than they've collected across some programs because of the use of sensors and wearables. So being able to analyze the data that is being captured, being able to generate insights, actionable insights that would improve healthcare delivery from the data is a problem that is suitable for technology, for artificial intelligence. And we're going to talk about that in greater detail. There continues to be a consolidation of organizations in healthcare, consolidation of health systems. Why? Because they want more scale. They want more profitability. And as a result of that, when you're consolidating, you have inefficient processes that have been scaled. You're increasing the burden on the physician. You may have systems that really don't speak to each other that needs to be integrated. And again, this presents a suitable and optimal problem for innovation and technology to solve as well. I already spoke briefly to cost pressures on healthcare systems, which is actually part of the reason that's driving the consolidation, to drive profitability, for them to be able to reduce their operating expense as well. And then this last one is very, very important. Nationally, there is a shortage of physicians. And over the next decade, we're actually projected to have a shortfall of 50 to 100,000 physicians. 85 million patients currently live in what we will call healthcare deserts, meaning they don't have access to adequate primary care. Think about that. So how do you make the physician more efficient? How do you reduce the burden, the administrative burden on the physician using technology? So, as I said, those were the trends, but this, again, if you look at improving the health of the populations, streamlining processes within health systems, making providers, physicians more efficient, and improving outcomes for patients, innovation and technology plays a key role in addressing those challenges. So let's dive in. I'm going to be speaking about 4 key technologies today. The first one is AI. I don't think you can give a talk these days without talking about AI, technology talk, right? You got to talk about AI. So I'm going to be talking about AI. The second one is digital twins. Very, very exciting, innovative technology. The next one is IoT, Internet of Things, connectivity across networks and using wearables and sensors and capturing devices from those sensors as well. Robotic process automation. So I talked about the robots that we use in our labs. Those are hardware, right? Those are physical robots that are moving around. This is software-enabled process automation. So software that can actually do things, robots, they can do things and eliminate manual activities. And I'll be talking to you about how these things are being used and the opportunities for all of these different technology categories. So let's start with AI. What is AI? So who best to answer the question, what is AI, than ChatGPT? Now, I can't take credit for this, by the way. So my manager, Lance Barbarian, actually did this and said, what is AI? And ChatGPT said, artificial intelligence is a smart computer program that can learn from experiences, make decisions, perform tasks that normally needs human intelligence. So humans are not really needed, are they? AI. It's designed to mimic human thinking to solve problems, recognize patterns, and adapt to new situations without explicit instructions for each scenario. That is a great response. That's what you would expect from ChatGPT. So that is AI. So next, Len said, similar to neural networks and machine learning, what are the different types of AI? And because ChatGPT is very intelligent, ChatGPT said symbolic or classical AI machine learning, neural networks, natural language processing, computer visioning. Is something missing from this list? So Len said, I agree with those things. However, did you forget generative AI? ChatGPT uses generative AI. It forgot about itself. So ChatGPT said, you are absolutely right. Generative AI is a significant subset within artificial intelligence and involves systems. It goes through the process. So the good news is the CIO of LabCorp, Lance Barbarian, is still smarter than ChatGPT. That was the conclusion that I drew anyways. So as you can see, this is AI. And what is neat about this is you ask AI a question, and in the background, it comes and provides insights. And that same trend can actually be used in healthcare to improve diagnostic accuracy, to reduce the burden on the physician, to actually help physicians practice at the top of their license. And I'm going to tell you momentarily what it means to actually practice at the top of your license. But let's get into AI. There are, as you saw, there are multiple categories, fields of AI, okay? Artificial intelligence, powerful computer systems that can mimic basic human cognition. Machine learning, that means that you can actually use data to train AI models and algorithms so they can actually start noticing patterns and trends and making decisions without human intervention. Okay? Deep learning, ability for models to look at images, to look at pictures, and to be able to learn from those images and pictures and support and generate any insights as well. So, as you are in a healthcare setting, I see 3 opportunities where AI can actually help. The first one is, we've all been to the physician, right? So when you go to a physician, they ask you questions. How bad is your pain on a scale of 1 to 10? How long have you been experiencing the symptoms that you're having? Do you have a history of cholesterol? Do you have a history of high blood pressure in your family? And they collect all of this information, right? And they have to type it into the EMR. AI could be a digital resident for physicians. So there's this concept of a resident, which are more junior physicians, typically recent graduates from medical schools, and they're working for an attending physician, and they're running around from one patient to the other and capturing the history, the signs and symptoms, and then they collate all of this information that they present to the physician, and the physician makes a decision on the diagnosis or treatment cascade. And AI could be that digital co-pilot, the digital co-resident for the physician. It could provide a summary on the patient's history. It could start guiding the physician on problematic areas, right? So for example, the LFT, liver function test results, are elevated. High blood pressure is elevated. It could even provide insights to physicians. 65% of physicians in this case, when they see test results or when they see lab results like this was the diagnosis and this was the treatment plan that he actually implemented. So now all of a sudden, the physician is actually more efficient. They could see more patients, and not only are they seeing more patients, they're actually making better decisions because they have this digital resident that is supporting diagnosis and also supporting recommendations and proposals on treatment plans as well. Excuse me. So let's talk about clinician decision support. Okay. This is pretty significant. This is a significant area. Imagine you go to your physician, and there are several several people that go to the physician, and the physician suspects that they have cancer. Okay? The physician does a biopsy. The pathologist looks at a biopsy, and they have to make a diagnosis on, does the patient have cancer or the patient doesn't have cancer? Think about that patient. This is a significant event for them to find out that they have cancer or to find out that they don't. I would say in situations like that, you want 100% accuracy. You don't want to tell a patient that doesn't have cancer that they have cancer. And you don't want to tell a patient that doesn't have cancer that they have cancer. Okay? So clinician decision support tools becomes very important in helping physicians make the right diagnosis and also helping physicians come up with the right treatment plans for patients that may have cancer or other indications as well. What's the right frontline treatment, first line treatment? What's the right second line, third line, and fourth line treatments for these patients? So again, AI, if you have all of the information, all of the data that is needed, all of the data assets, you have it normalized, you could actually create an AI model that sits on top of that information, again, that's right, that's supporting the physician, that's providing those insights as they're making decisions on diagnosis and also on treatment as well. Reduction in administrative burden. AI can review the patient notes. AI can generate insights from the patient notes, as we discussed earlier, present those insights back to the physician so the physician can make a decision so they don't have to actually do it themselves. Again, reducing and streamlining the processes on the physician. So I spoke briefly about cancer diagnosis. Okay. So this is a process. It's digital pathology. They do the biopsy, they create a slide, and then you could actually use a scanner to scan the slide. That image goes to a storage system, and then you could use an image management system to actually access that image. You use your laboratory information management system, which is your LIMS, and you could actually begin looking at that digitally captured image of the glass slide for the patient, okay? So imagine if you build an AI model that has data on all of the previous glass images that have now been digitally captured, going back decades, and the corresponding physician diagnosis, going back decades. That is a massive data trove for AI. So now the pathologist gets a sample and the AI model is actually guiding diagnosis because you've trained the model on significant data going back decades. So now the AI knows what type of tumor is it, what's the size of the tumor, okay? What's the location of the tumor, and what is the appropriate frontline treatment based on that tumor type, improving the diagnosis accuracy for physicians, making sure that the physicians are actually providing the right diagnosis, the right care to patients. And I know what you guys are thinking. No. I don't want AI to be my physician. I don't want AI to make the diagnosis. I trust my physician because they went to medical school and AI didn't go to medical school, right? Check this out. Google AI has better bedside manner than human doctors and makes better diagnosis. This is very interesting, right? So I had the opportunity to actually visit Google's campus about 5 months ago in New York City. They're doing some really innovative, cool things with AI. So it was good being in the innovation center, meeting some of their executive and leadership team. But they actually shared this with us while we were there, and I thought it was very, very interesting. Now, I don't think that AI is going to become our physicians, but I do think that AI is going to be a digital co-pilot for physicians to make them more efficient, to improve diagnostic accuracy, and also to improve treatment outcomes as well. Now, it's critical that there is data quality when it comes to AI, because the input is as good as the output. And one of the challenges right now with scaling AI is data quality. So you may have data in different systems, data that is not standardized, data that is not normalized. Therefore, as you're building these AI models, one of the barriers actually becomes data. How do you aggregate? How do you cleanse? How do you normalize? And how do you actually put in place the data governance to ensure data quality moving forward as well? So within organizations, there is a focus on data governance strategy, okay? Making sure that data is being aggregated, making sure that it's being standardized, it's being cleansed, so it can be used to power AI models. So moving forward, as AI continues to be scaled for several use cases within organizations, I think you're also going to see this focus on making sure that that data is clean and can be used by AI models as well. Okay, so the next technology that I would like to discuss is robotic process automation. And this is a really, really cool technology, okay? And it's highly suitable for highly repetitive tasks that people are doing. You could build a software model that comes in and is actually able to replicate, to mimic a human doing that work without human intervention. So within our organization, within LabCorp, this is a technology that we scaled significantly, and we're seeing significant impacts from this technology. One of the areas that we've used it is in clinical trials. When patients go to the investigator, to the clinic, and the physician will take their vitals or will conduct certain clinical procedures, they capture that and they put it in what is called an electronic data capture, an EDC, okay? But because data quality is paramount in clinical trials, they actually send what is called clinical research assistants, CRAs, to go to the clinic and actually check patient A vitals. Yep, that's what the physician captured. That's what was imputed into the EDC. Liver function test, that's what the physician captured. That's what was imputed into the EDC. And so they go around to all of the sites to do all of this work. Okay. We built an RPA model that actually goes and is able to evaluate all of that information and prepare what we call the pre-trip report for the CRAs to allot them to the areas that they need to focus on, okay? Which reduced the amount of administrative burden that they were actually putting in preparing for the site visits when they went on site, okay? So now think about how this can be scaled across organizations to actually start reducing or eliminating the manual activities and the manual tasks that are being done by humans. So when you think about healthcare, massive, massive opportunity. Patient billing. Literally, somebody has to go in and look at the CPT codes, generate the billing, type it in the computer, and email it or print it out, snail mail, and send it to the patient. Think about what robotic process automation can do. Can look at the CPT codes, extract them, assign them to a patient, generate the billing template, automatically send the email to the patient without human intervention. Think about the scale, the reduction. Think about the level of accuracy. Now, that can be created by using this type of technologies. Another opportunity, appointment scheduling, right? Think of the nurse calling the physician, the nurse calling the patient, trying to organize. RPA can be programmed to say, on every third visit, on the third week of the last visit, generate an email that you're sending out to the patient to actually orchestrate and facilitate and plan the next visit. as well. Again, reducing the manual labor, manual intervention, and this has significant impact for organizations. When you start thinking about being able to maximize the number of resources that they have to only focus on what matters and not really managing the administrative task as well. Claims processing, data entry, we've built RPA models that would actually capture data from one system and put it in a different system so it doesn't have to be manually imputed, manually entered, okay? So think about the scale. Think about hospital systems, always capturing data entry from one system to a different system. Our RPA technologies now can be used to actually streamline and reduce those manual processes. Clinical documentation, okay? RPA can be used to actually extract the most important notes from patient encounters. Again, summarize those patient encounters and present the appropriate information to the decision makers. Now, I would have to tell you that these technologies are not actually used in silo. So you could build an RPA model that sits on top of an AI model or vice versa. So you have an AI model that's extracting insights, and you have an RPA model that is actually taking those insights and sending email to patients, sending email, reminder, alerts, and notifications to physicians, or anything that needs to be done, highly repetitive tasks that robotic process automation can actually do. And the benefit of this is the improvement and enhancement in patient care, which is the healthcare providers can actually focus on what matters, which is guiding patient care, making accurate diagnoses, and developing effective treatment plans, using technology to carry the burden of all of the administrative tasks that are typically being done. Okay. All right, my favorite technology. I'm excited about digital twins. So what is a digital twin? Simply, it's you have your physical environment and you're creating completely digital environment of the physical environment. Some of you got excited when I said that. You guys were thinking, wait, can I do that with my bank account? I could create a digital twin of my bank account? So I have double the money? No, it doesn't work that way. But think about this. If you have an old cell, let's call it a liver cell, okay? You have a patient with a liver disease. You could actually create a digital liver cell using this digital twin technology. Now, again, it doesn't work in silo. It actually works with AI models. It's powered by AI models, okay? Or think about any organ or biological system within the body, where you can say, I'm going to create a digital version of that organ, of that system. I could make it diseased. I can make mutations to it, but it's a replica, a digital replica of a physical system. So what does that actually mean? So that means when it comes to doing clinical trials, to developing new therapies, that you could create a digital cell that you could actually start doing your tests in to understand the safety of the drug, what genes are being upregulated, what genes are being downregulated, to understand are there additional druggable targets within that system as well, okay? So what does that do? If you can actually test significant components within that digital environment, what it does is it has the potential to actually accelerate the development timeline for a new therapy and also reduce the cost as well. And biotechnology companies are now beginning to actually use this technology when it comes to drug discovery. The other advantage is you can completely model the human genome now. You can look at the human genome as massive as it is, So you can start looking at the impact of sudden mutations, the impact of drugs and upregulation, downregulation of genes. And I think this is a very important technology, and we're going to dive more and talk about why I think so. They're massively complex, okay? Because you have data about you, you have data on the drugs that you're taking, you have genomics data, diagnosis, your treatment. So this is actually an ecosystem of statistical data and multi-scale knowledge and data to create that digital twin environment. And there is connectivity. So when you're testing in the digital twin, in the digital version, insights are being fed back into the physical version. And then you can observe the impact on the digital version, and there is a continuous feedback loop, feedback mechanism of using this digital ecosystem to actually optimize the physical environment, the physical models. And again, it's an AI model that is powering this algorithms. So if you think about how complex this model, this ecosystem is, I think is really going to be transformational in healthcare. Because now you can create digital versions of diseases and start looking at how effective a treatment plan would be as you're developing these digital versions for the diseases. So digital twins have been deployed in cardiovascular models. And I will share with you that in cardiovascular models, that they're actually observing that digital twins in some instances are actually more accurate than clinical guidelines. Okay. They're now being deployed in surgery. Think about vascular surgery, where surgeons are actually developing digital twins to make sure that there is no damage, that they do not accidentally damage the structures as they're doing surgery. It's been deployed in orthopedics as well, where you need high-grade physics-based models as well, okay? But here is where I think the greatest impact of digital twins could be. Cell and gene therapy. How many of you are familiar with what cell and gene therapy is? Great, okay. So I'm going to briefly cover cell and gene therapy and then go into why I think digital twins are actually going to be significantly impactful for this type of therapy. So the first thing that you do is you actually collect T cells. This is personalized medicine. You collect T cells from the patient. When you collect those T cells, you actually change those T cells to CAR T cells. Why are they CAR T cells? Because they find cancer cells and they attack cancer cells, okay? And then you multiply the CAR T cells in the lab, and then you deliver the CAR T cells back into the patient's bloodstream. And the CAR T cells, they find the cancer cells and they attack the cancer cells. So that's cell therapy. Gene therapy is there is a DNA mutation. You develop the correct version of the gene, and then you put it in a viral vector. And then you transfect the human with the viral vector, and the viral vector actually goes and expresses the right proteins. That is gene therapy. And I'm not going to go into great details, but cell therapy can be complex. There can be autologous cells, that means from cells from the donor, from you. They could also be allogeneic cells, which is from somebody else, okay? They can be manipulated, but they don't have to be manipulated. So there are different versions. They can be genetically modified, they can be not genetically modified. There are different versions of this, but imagine in this system, in this ecosystem, that now you can actually use a digital twin, okay, to create a version of the genome, your genome, and then you're actually testing to see if it's going to work on person A, okay? And then once you know that, yes, it's going to work, there's significant potential, then you actually proceed to using this therapy to treat the patient. These therapies are extremely, extremely expensive. It is not uncommon to find cell therapies that cost millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. So this is just not a therapy that you just want to go use, hoping that is going to work, okay? You actually want really strong evidence that this therapy is going to be effective. And I think that is why using a digital twin approach, the technology that we've been discussing, could actually be extremely impactful. So, gene therapy, which is different from cell therapy. Gene replacement, gene silencing, and gene editing are all different types of gene editing treatment. Again, the same narrative, which is using this digital twin technology to fully and truly understand the impact of the gene therapy treatment prior to progressing to actually using this in the patient. And then the last technology that we're going to be discussing is IoT, Internet of Things, sensors and wearables. This is not a new technology, by the way. So if you have an app that you can use to open your garage door, close your garage door, it's a connected, internet, connected to the internet, right? Internet of Things. If you have an application that you can use to turn on the lights in your house, turn off the lights in your house, it's the same technology, right? But when applied in an healthcare setting, it can be quite impactful. So think of a network of miniaturized devices that are connected, okay? So your vitals, your blood pressure, your activity, so actimetry devices, okay, which could be a measure of health, especially in cancer patients. Think of sleep devices, sleep monitors as well, okay? All of these devices, EKGs, that can be now connected to create a virtual hospital ward, right? Where someone is actually sitting there and monitoring your health virtually while you're at home, but through a device that gets you connected, and they're seeing your blood pressure. And this network is also able to generate alerts and notifications to the provider to say, hey, the LFT, the bilirubin, is out of range. Okay, focus on this patient, call this patient, improving care. If you recall what I mentioned earlier about the proliferation of data, the volume of data that physicians, that they need to actually review, to make a diagnosis, to actually develop a treatment plan, is now this, again, could be the physician co-pilot. When you set the thresholds, that's generating those alerts and notifications to physicians for any out-of-range results any out-of-range results as you're being monitored. Think about the reduction in space that is being used within a hospital setting as well, okay? Think about the physician now just focusing on treating the patient because these devices are able to capture that data and then notify the physicians if there are any focus areas that requires their attention. I'm not going to go into details. As I said, these technologies have been around for a while. Recently, they're proliferating in healthcare. But the most important use, as I've stated, is really improving patient monitoring, monitoring patient vitals, rapidly alerting physicians and providers if there are any abnormalities, and also detecting what we call severe adverse events and adverse events as well, AEs and SAEs. So we've actually deployed this capability in clinical trials to do exactly that, right? Which was patients were using it, and if there was an abnormal reading, this was actually able to generate a notification to that investigator to say patient A or patient B is having a crisis. You know, they're out of their normal range for the threshold, the acceptable threshold. So again, the applications of this technology within healthcare are really, really limitless. And I think they're going to have significant impact in improving patient outcomes, in improving physicians' productivity, physician accuracy, so they can really focus on doing the most important thing, which is guiding the care of the patient. Now, anytime it comes to data, there are always going to be considerations to make sure that you're keeping the data safe, that you're maintaining privacy for the patient. So I'm going to be closing with key considerations as these technologies are going to be deployed within healthcare settings, which is an enhanced cybersecurity posture, okay? Making sure that the data is going to be safe within the environment of organizations, and cyber criminals are just not going to come and run off with this massive, massive data trove, okay? I already mentioned the improvements in data quality, making sure that the data is cleansed, the data is standardized, the data is normalized, and it's high-grade data that can be used to build effective AI models, okay? Regulatory compliance. There are going to be regulatory requirements, making sure that organizations are also adhering to those regulatory requirements, regulatory rules within various geographies, various regions of the world. Cost containment, the infrastructure that is going to be needed, the storage that is going to be needed to manage the computing power to process all of this data is a significant investment, significant investment. So making sure as organizations are thinking about scaling this technology, that they have an effective approach that is actually sustainable from a cost perspective. And just because there is a technology is available and you can use it, doesn't mean that it should be used, or doesn't mean that this is actually the best time to actually do it. So what happens within an organization, and where I spent the early part of my career, is understanding the opportunities and then developing a prioritized roadmap based on ROI, return on investment. Where can you have the greatest impact within organizations leveraging technology? And then executing on that roadmap to always ensure that technology strategy is aligned to business strategy. And you're always focusing on the most impactful things within your organization for your customers and also for your patients and for improving healthcare and accomplishing the mission of the organization. And as I said in LabCorp, our mission is improving health and improving lives. And then experimentation. Having small teams that can actually work on these different technologies, proof of concepts, pilots, and that can fail fast as well. Setting up digital twins, setting up AI models, IoTs, what are the opportunities? I think that's also very, very important to make sure that they can be scaled, they can be deployed rapidly to provide new capabilities, but also scaled after they've been piloted within organizations as well. So that's the end of my talk, and I believe we have about 5 minutes if you have any questions. Yeah, no, it's a really good question. Generally, what I would say that the pace of innovation in healthcare is generally slower because it's a highly regulated environment. Okay. About 5 years ago, the FDA started developing guidelines for conduct of digital trials. Okay. So I think AI is going to fall within digital trials as well. And it's going to be regulated. And it's going to be, the AI models would have to be validated to ensure that they're actually doing what the developers are claiming that the AI model is going to be doing. And that is the most important thing to the FDA. So as these models are being developed, they're going to be validated, and the FDA is going to be developing guidelines on use of these technologies. Now, there is a process that you can go through that is called software as a medical device. And you can actually receive approval through that process. And so a lot of those diagnostics AI tools that have been developed will be going through this process of getting approval as a medical device, because they will be categorized as a medical device. Yes.
I have a question about digital twin technologies. If I were are there internships available for anything involving cellular or genetic modeling, and would I need a background in biological science to be able to get involved in that?
Specifically for digital twin technology? Yes, so there are internships that are available. At LabCorp, we actually have what is called Innovation Days. And we have all of the interns that are working with the experienced engineers and developers. And the sky's the limit. You could go build any application that you want. You could do any proof of concept on any technology that you want. And it's a lot of fun. People get really excited about it. And I'm sure other organizations have the same concept as well. So yes, if you're looking for opportunities, I would say probably mostly within the AI domain, because as I said, a lot of those technologies will be powered by AI. There is an organization out there called Thinking Node that actually does the wholesale modeling, digital twin technology. So look at their website, and I'm happy to give you my information as well if you're interested in internships at LabCorp. Yeah.
Time for one more question.
Yeah, so what's face current diagnosis practices aren't necessarily perfect. There've been a couple of studies and investigations into the fact that sometimes diagnosis can be a little bit biased depending on what group the patient is a part of.
Yes.
How are we trying to remove that, prevent that bias from carrying on to AI models?
Yeah. So I think that first of all, it's a great question. And it's a focus area for many organizations, health disparities. And equity is very important. And I think that is actually an area where these AI models can help remove the bias, right? Because the AI model is not going to be trained on an Hispanic patient, on a Black patient, on a white patient. It's just going to be trained on what is the data telling you, okay? And extract the insights from the data. So I think it's an area where AI can help. And then to your point on accuracy of diagnosis, what I would say is, if AI made a mistake, right? I think the natural reaction would be, wow, AI made a mistake. But I think the right comparison is if you compare human to an AI, to say what are the reduction in error rates and the improvement in the accuracy of diagnosis. That if you looked at it through that lens, I believe AI would actually be able to reduce, not completely eliminate, but reduce some of the bias that's associated with diagnostics, with diagnosing patients.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. So we've run out of official time for the streaming portion, but if you have a burning question that you wanted to ask and you didn't have time, Bola, will you be able to accommodate a
Absolutely.
few questions? So,
Yeah,
so Bola will be around. All right. Once again, gentlemen in the back, if you are a computer science grad student, you need him to swipe you. If you need me to sign anything, come down. Otherwise, come back in March. We'll have another one. Thank you.